if you want revenge for all the bad things that have happened in your life, why don't you start with the version of you that didn't live up to your potential? I don't know about you, but I'm a sucker for a great fucking quote. And especially one that hits you in the feelings, that gives you that a moment to force you to reflect a little bit, to actually question, well, life. And fuck me, when I heard that one today from Chris Williamson, I was like, damn, that one hits hard. Because it really is that. Like, we want to look at all the shit that's gone on in our lives and all the problems and all those kinds of things. If we want to get back at the world for fucking us over or whatever it might be, why don't you just start with the version of yourself that didn't live up to your potential? Because, well, shit, the majority of the time, that's the only person to blame. Majority of the time, the only person to blame for where your life is fucking you. And this is one of those pills that are goddamn hard to swallow. It's a goddamn horse pill right there. That it is tough. It is tough to not only recognize, but to take full ownership that the majority of bad shit in your life has transpired because of the choices you have made. As always, I'll give the caveat because there are always going to be exceptions to the rule on that, but pretty much in most circumstances, our life is the way it is because of the choices we have made. And a lot of people don't want to accept this as a concept, but if you can get your head around it, if you can wrap your head around your life is where it is because of the choices you have made, it also opens you up to a world of freedom. Because within that, as well, is the opportunity to change it. Once you can accept and recognize that your life is a direct response to your life choices, well, shit. That means you can also change it. I've spoken about this before, but the reality of it is, if your reality is a reality, if your reality is defined by your choices, that's the greatest news ever, because it means you're 90 days away or less from a whole new reality just by changing your choices, just by making better choices. You can have a whole new reality in 90 days. And I think that is the most beautiful thing. Because we often feel that, well, we're abandoned by life, and that's just the cards we were dealt and the hand we were given. This is it. This is my lot in life. Well, no. Your reality is a reflection of the choices you make. And I had someone comment back at me and they're like, well, that's a really simplistic view of it. And I was like, it is. But I also feel it's an accurate view of it. The catch on it, the caveat that you place on it, though, is that sometimes to change your reality, you don't like the choices that have to be made. You don't like the changes that have to be made. And that's the catch. That you might not be willing to sacrifice, give up, make the hard choices, put in the effort, do the things that are required to change your life. But your life is still a reality, a reflection of your choices. So, at the end of the day, if you aren't happy with it, start making different choices. Start making better decisions. Start making choices that are going to change you towards a better life. And if you aren't happy with where it is, take revenge on the version of you who didn't live up to your potential. As I said, I love a good quote, and this one was huge for me because I I think now more than ever, I am having these battles with myself in the best possible way. Because part of me wants to regret and be disappointed in the previous version of me for not giving the effort that I have to transform my life, to transform to be the best version of myself. Part of me wants to look at that and be like, what the fuck were you doing? And there's a little bit of that required, I think. There's a little bit of that needed because, we're talking about it today in the gym, that without a little bit of shame, a little bit of regret, a little bit of disappointment in yourself, there's not enough incentive to make a change. There's not enough incentive to push forward and to do the things that are required. But on the flip side of that is beating yourself up will also, depending on who you are, force you into not making the right decisions. So I had a guy who asked me, and he's like, how do you continue to push forward? How do you keep moving forward with it? Because I find that I'll do like 2 or 3 days, build some momentum, and then I make a bad choice and I end up staying up late watching Netflix. Then I'm tired, and then my brain says, well, you've wasted half the day, don't worry about it. And then I just get in, then it's 2 or 3 days, and then I've lost the momentum and I have to start again. How do I break this cycle? And the answer I gave, and I think you build upon this to, as I said, get revenge on the person who's not living up to their potential. But you have to start at the beginning of where you're at. So the advice I gave was, 1, you need to change how you view yourself in those situations. So that starts with, no matter what, I am doing something every day. So yeah, I might not feel like doing a full workout. I might not have the full energy and the commitment, and there's that little voice in my head whispering to me hey, just take it easy. You've wasted half the day, why fucking bother? Don't get me wrong, I fucking get that voice. It's part of the reason why I'm an all or nothing person, because the second I step off the plan, my brain's like, well, fuck it. Fuck it, just do it all now. Just have everything. So I get that voice. But especially when it comes to the commitment and follow through of doing the exercise, I think you need to be like, well, I do something every single day. So in that situation where you've wasted half the day, you go, well, I'm just going to do 5 minutes. I'm just going to fucking do something. Go for a 5-minute weighted walk. Go for, 5 minutes of workout. Whatever the fuck it is, do something. Start there. Because more often than not, once you start, you'll be like, oh, this isn't too bad. Generally speaking, it is the beginning, the initial momentum to start that derails you from doing it completely. So if you can overcome the inertia and actually just begin the process, what I find is you'll override everything from there. If you just begin. So that's my first bit, that you need to start with, I am someone who does something every day. And look, as you get into this better, and if you want to jump full in, I would recommend it. But if you are struggling with the beginning phase of just following through every day, that's where you start. You just go, I am someone who does something every single day, no matter what. And then you go from there, right? The second part is that you need to allow yourself forgiveness. You need to not beat yourself up, because if you've already had that little bit of that voice in your ear and it's let you slip a little bit, beating yourself up about that choice will most likely send you spiraling further down. So forgive yourself and be like, it's okay, but we need to do better. Don't worry about today. It happens. Those things happen. Give yourself forgiveness in the moment, but also remind yourself that you need to do better next time. That you're going to be better next time. And within that, I saw this one the other day, and I thought it was a genius fucking idea. And so they reckon part of the problem with this, and extreme procrastination in general, is that you have a lack of connection with future self. You have this thing of, I will kick it down the line for someone later, and that's someone else's problem, but you're not connected to that. And it creates this self-defeating cycle, because then it adds to your stress, it adds to your anxiety, it adds to all this kind of stuff. But because you're not connected to the future self, you are just dealing with the in this moment feeling. You're more likely to just keep kicking it down the line as someone else's problem, not realizing that you are the someone who's going to have to deal with it, and that you are building upon that problem. So what they recommended was that you write a letter to yourself from future self with explicit detail, and talk about the consequences of your actions, how that added to your stress, how that made you feel, how it built anxiety, how it delayed all that kind of stuff, all the issues that arose from you not taking that action. And then on the flip side, also give yourself, write the details of how it felt when you did follow through, when you didn't procrastinate, how it made you feel fulfilled and connected and worthy and all these kinds of things. Give yourself the true emotional connection to that. And then now you've anchored yourself with future self. Now you've anchored emotions and feelings with the future version of you. What they found in the study was that it reduced procrastination by 60%. So I think you need to add that in as well. And then the last bit of this I recommended was accountability. Now, for obvious reasons, I would strongly recommend you join Chasing Greatness. That you begin that process and you get into that. But on the flip side of that, it can be anybody's accountability. But I have always believed, and my experience has proven this. I've had my own gym for 12 years. I've been training people for 15 years or so. I've got experience doing this. But accountability to a friend or a family member or a partner is great. However, the problem is that because they love and care for you and don't want to upset you, generally they're really kind and forgiving with it and won't give you the harsh truths. So in these situations, it'll be like, oh, well, I slept in today, I don't really feel like it, I'm just going to leave it today and I'll pick it up tomorrow. When you have someone who's close to you and who in that position, they'll be like, oh, that's okay. Those things happen. We all have bad days. Kind, soft, caring. Understandable. However, I find if you have someone outside of your circle, often someone who you pay, who is going to hold to the standard. I've spoken about this before. I think it's the highest form of love. But when it's someone close to you, the dichotomy of the relationship is confusing and difficult to participate in that. But I think if you have someone outside of you who you've put skin in the game by paying the money, so you have something on the line with that as well, they are able to hold you accountable at a higher level. So they can give you the harsh truths. They can tell you the things that you need to hear but don't want to hear. Like, that's fine. No worries. Understandable. These things happen. Now fix it. That you can reach out to someone in those moments when you've had those days and they can remind you of the standard that you set. And I find that when you are struggling with that kind of stuff, you need someone in that corner who is just going to hold the line. As I said, it's okay. Forgive yourself that you had those slip-ups, that you've had those mistakes. These things do happen, and that's totally acceptable. However, when they do happen, you need someone to be like, it's fine, it happened, but now what are you going to do about it? Now what are you going to do to fix it? And kicking it to tomorrow delays the issue. You need to solve it in the moment that you recognize it. In that moment when it first happens, you need to solve it and recognize that the issue has arisen and now we need to do something about it. So I think you need someone outside of it. As I said, I would strongly recommend my own program. This is what I'm here. This is the whole thing that I've built it around, is to hold you accountable to that standard. That you message me and go, hey, this happened today. All right, cool. How are we going to fix it? And basically you are paying for someone to instill willpower to you. That is the majority of my job. The majority of my job is to hold you accountable to the standard you set. You're essentially paying me to create your willpower. Because workouts, all that kind of stuff, I've given you pretty much the full outline, and you can find stuff online if you really wanted to. But motivation, accountability, willpower is a fickle thing. And most people, and this is not a criticism of it, it's just a statement of fact, do not have what it takes to build that. So you outsource that willpower, you outsource it to someone else, you pay someone like me to hold you accountable to that standard, to make sure you live up to your potential. It's time to get revenge on that man who wasn't living up to your potential. And this is the beginning of it. You outsource that ability until you build that discipline and willpower within yourself. And that's how we start. That's how we begin that process. And you just keep showing up. You keep showing up with that willpower. You will be held accountable to the standards that you set, and you do the work. And it's not going to be easy. It's going to take time. Look, minimum, I think 6 weeks. In all honesty, as we've discussed before, I think it takes 126 days. But I think the 6 weeks allows you to begin the process. It allows you to get into the game and recognize how valuable it is. And then from there, you build on it. And then from there, you ingrate it. You remove all those negative habits and you make them positive habits. And you build the game out from there. But you've got to start at the beginning. And we're having this discussion as well in the gym today. The reason why most people stop is because it's so rare today in society to have been built and taught willpower and discipline and focus. It is a rare commodity. It is something that is not championed. It is something that is potentially frowned upon. It's potentially put into the toxic masculinity level, depending on where you are in the world and who you associate with. And yet it is the greatest gift ever. You are not going to live up to your potential. You are not going to get revenge on the version of you who didn't live up to your potential until you develop the skill of discipline. And it is the highest form of self-love, is self-discipline, is to keep your word. It is to do the work that is required regardless of how you feel. This is what's required to reach your potential. And I can guarantee you, I can 100% guarantee you that you will not reach your potential until you can create self-discipline. And furthermore, the biggest catch of this is that it is a perishable skill. It is one that, if not worked on every single day, if not continued to be pushed and developed, will diminish. Doesn't matter how disciplined you are. Doesn't matter how focused you are. Doesn't matter which version of yourself you are. That if you do not place yourself in a situation every single day to do the work, to work on your discipline, to build your grit and determination, it will perish. It will diminish. And that's one of the reasons why it is so rare in today's society. Because nobody wants to get uncomfortable. Nobody wants to voluntarily keep pushing forward. Nobody wants to voluntarily keep doing the work and push themselves outside of their comfort zone to do what is required regardless of what is going on. That's why if you do it, it separates you. That's why if you do it, it puts you into such rarefied air. But it's also why, again, coming back to it, I think you need to outsource that willpower initially, because it's so foreign and it's so unusual that the people in your life will probably not understand. People in your life will not understand how to support you and push you forward. And you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So it's important that, especially initially, you get around other people who are going to hold you accountable to the standard, who have set that standard in their life themselves, who are going to uplift you and push you towards that. It is very, very important that we continue to create this in our lives. And if you don't have anyone who is already setting that standard for you, the chances of you being able to create it on your own is very, very small. It's why getting support, it's why getting help, it's why pushing forward is so important. Because most people don't know anyone who does this. Most people don't have anyone in their life who is leading by example. And I know that you want to be that guy. I know you want to be that first one. I know that you've got that calling inside of you, but you're struggling to make it a reality. So make it a reality. Either find someone who you know can hold you accountable to that standard, or simplify it. Message me. Let's get you into chasing greatness. Let's get you part of the community, and I'll hold you accountable to it. I'll make sure it becomes a reality. I'll make sure that you do what is required. And I guarantee your results will far exceed not just the physical, but every level that you thought possible. I guarantee you that you'll become a different man on the other side. I had one of my guys who's just completed Chasing Greatness the first 6 weeks, and he was like, my goal was 5 kilos. This has exceeded my expectations beyond any measure. We're talking nearly 20 kilos in the 6 weeks. But not just that, the discipline, the focus, all of that kind of stuff. But it takes being put into a situation where you're held accountable to the standard, where you push to that limit to be able to realize how much you have been leaving on the table, how much potential you have been wasting. So it's time to get revenge on the version of you who's been wasting your potential. Let's get you into chasing greatness and see who you can become. As always, though, if you're not quite there yet, click the link in my bio, grab my top 10 tools to transform your mental toughness. And lastly, if this spoke to you, if you enjoyed it, if you know someone who needs to hear this, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. But most importantly, hit subscribe. Because like everything in Chasing Greatness Daily, I am here every single day. No matter what, rain, hail, or shine, I am here sharing this message, sharing the lessons, and hoping to inspire you to make that change. So hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a single one, because I'll be back again tomorrow. Until then.